We've recently played through it on the channel. If you're interested in that, look at the waffle session, but I thought we'd talk about and review maybe B10 Night's Dark Terror. Hello and welcome to the Battle and Barrow and a review video. In this we are going to be reviewing B10 Night's Dark Terror. We are specifically going to be looking at this. This is the drive-through RPG print-on-demand version, mainly because this is the one that's going to be readily available to everyone. You can of course try and track this down in its original form on eBay, which is quite expensive. But you would get, even though you do get it in here, you get the pull-out maps and what have you, so that's probably better for you, but this is what we're working with, and it's a good one. Before we get going though, I'd like to say, I do remember seeing this back in the day in shops, but I don't know if this is a Mandela effect, but I remember it in Britain being B/X1, as it was a basic to expert transitional module. You start levels 2 to 4, and it goes through dungeon crawling, but introduces hex crawls and the wilderness to you in this rule book in here. And then if you want to take it further, you could buy the expert set and have the full rules. But I can't seem to find any information that it was B/X1. So if anyone else perhaps has a better memory than me or knows about it as an original copy of it, let me know in the comments if I'm actually remembering correctly. But anyway, we've got the American version, then B10. This was the last of the basic modules until a few years later when B11 and B12 come out. And they went back to basics of being a introductory module, but this was meant to be the last of the basic and take you into the X modules. Which is why I think the British title of B/X1 was more fitting, if that is true, and not just me making stuff up. So yes, this module here, it's quite rightly regarded as a classic. It is excellent. I mean, the value for money you get from this, I mean, I think it's under £10 to buy brand new now from RPG, drive-through RPG, print on demand. We started playing it in April. We've only just really finished it beginning part of August. End of July, beginning part of August. We don't play every week, so it's every 2 weeks. We try to play every week, but it's every 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks in a month we play. So there is a lot going in here, and some of them we didn't even cover it all. We only went into one of the 3 barrows. There is a further adventures bit at the end we could do, and there's plenty of scope to expand it. The story is, for the general adventure hook, as it were, is you are in Kelvin when you're approached by a guy called Stephen who wants to hire you to on behalf of his brother to take some horses from their homestead just on the other side of the river, quite a fair way away, near the Dimrock forest. Take them from there to Riflian, where the elves will buy them. He says that in a week's time there will be a boat taking them from Kelvin to Misha's ferry. From there they can make their way to the homestead. It all sounds simple enough, but if you've seen the waffle video, you know things go quickly south. It opens on the boat where they get raided by the Iron Ring. This for me personally works out great because we had involvement with the Iron Ring already, so it seems to fitting with where we were going to campaign. They then make their way to the homestead, and as they arrive they see it in flames and it's being besieged by different groups of goblins and hobgoblins, and this is where the story kicks off. I don't want to go too much into the story. If you're interested, you can watch the waffle sessions where I cover it, because I'd like if you're a player to experience this for the first time. But it starts off quite innocuous like that, and you basically end up in a Lost Valley fighting Lovecraftian horror and hordes of undead. It goes from, so it takes you, it subverts your expectations to quote modern media they seem to like doing. This does it. It is really well done. Let's have a look at some of it on there. It is beautifully interior. The interior is lovely. It has lovely illustrations. As I said, it takes you through the expert play quickly, but if you want more, enough to get you going, enough to pip your interest, because it has if you get the original, you probably get this bit, but it has beautiful maps in the end. It has playing pieces so you can run the siege, and if you buy the original, this is like full scale. So these squares here are 1 inch, so you could use these and play out the siege, so you wouldn't have to have miniatures for that. The maps are just full on awesome maps, full of detail, and there are loads of them. You have a handout here of the tapestry that it happened. There was a tapestry in this, a magical tapestry. I made another copy of this myself, where I removed all the threading on it, so I could give that to my players first, just as a playing thing, so I could see what I was talking about. All the handouts for this are going to be available on my Patreon for my patrons that I made for this, like all the notes and so forth. I've already put this map on that I did for my players. I've got a DM map and a player map where I gave them this, but just removed all of the locations from it, so they had, and obviously all of the secret bits up here, so I could navigate around. It introduces some lovely new monsters. We saw some of those in the campaign. Yes, but it is sort of 56 pages worth of adventure, and it is jam-packed. You have dungeon encounters, wilderness encounters, you even have urban encounters. You're in the streets of Threshold. It was originated a British module. We can see here, there's a few of them that came out around this time. Jim Bambra, Graham Morris and Phil Gallagher, with, read it here for you, the cover art was by Brian Williams, with internal art by Helen Bedford, and as I said, the internal art is great. It sort of reminds me of sort of what was going on at Britain, its own fantasy, the striking black and white art. And I mention that because it's fighting fantasy. At the time when this sort of came out, we were at the height of fighting fantasy. Incidentally, this came out in 1986. I was 10 years old when this came out, and I sort of remember it in my shop then. It's just, I love the art in this. Sort of very, very British. There is a bit of a contradiction to Threshold though. In the expert set, it describes it as a very clean town, with the Baron having nothing built more than 50 foot together, whereas in here it talks about how it is almost how you'd expect a town to be, sort of higgledy-piggledy, built on top of each other, and a bit smelly. I'll find the bit here. Also has, this is where I got Sergeant Arthol from, that's in my campaign at the moment. I love this, we use this a lot. This is the calendar, which we made massive use of. But it also has a weather system, so it's 00222. You'd look here, so 0 is clear, next 0 means it's dry, and the 2s would mean it's warm and windy. That was really useful, and we had it as the Mystara weather report, and my players would get upset if I hadn't done the weather report for the day they were on then. So and it does get you to have strict timekeeping. There it is, illustration of Threshold. Again, love it. It's more Warhammer than Mystara Threshold, I feel, but apart from that. So yes, where do we go on this adventure? Let's give you a very brief overview of it. I'm not going to try and spoil too much. So we have the raid on the homestead, and then we go exploring into a wilderness, sort of almost mini hex crawl, where we're trying to track down the horses have been kidnapped by the goblins, and so has Stephen has been taken. So you're off to find out where he is, and you're going across the wilderness and searching for the goblins in the Dimrak forest here. There are sort of optional adventures. There are things that you have to hit, but it goes through there. There are fixed encounters which will happen to push the story forward, but it also does wilderness events for each section. Now these can happen, they cannot. I tried to run as many of them as I could. Might be why it took so long. I wanted to experience everything of this. But there are things like maybe your horse goes lame just for there, or there's a lost item that you find, and they can happen anywhere. But there are things where they could. So we're looking for all these goblin lairs around here, and this is the one where Stephen is. So You could just find it by accident, but I had it, so the advice was maybe to ask the elves on the river here. The elves don't know, but the elves sort of say they know who could help them, but they're in a bit of a predicament fighting pixies. Can the players help out? So that gets that encounter definitely to run. They lead up to the gold mine up here with the dwarves, and the dwarves know that the goblins are there. So that was the way I got to make sure that we encountered all of this. The aforementioned barrows are here, and the only reason we went there is because the players saw them off in the distance, so it piqued their interest. They went in one, decided nope, that's too tough, and ignored them, so we could go back there. We then, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but it involves Stephen being kidnapped into a tower here. There is a werewolf encounter beforehand, but there's a tower here. Well, we find out that what they're looking for is in fact this lost valley up here. That's what all this involves. Why? Fortune and glory. Power. And then the lost valley is just that. It goes in a totally different way. We are going sort of, you know, almost prehistoric Mystara time in there, using Tarkans and Treldar and undead and a Lovecraftian beastie. It is just amazing. It has a bit of everything done just right, and it takes you through just being a basic player who's exploring dungeons out into the wilderness in such a nice way, with lots of information. There's lots of encounter charts, random encounter charts you can use for the area, which I've based my campaign on. I had a PDF of this before, and I've been waiting for it to come out on print on demand so I could run it properly, because I like physical copies in front of me when I'm running things. So yes, all I can say is this worth buying? Absolutely. I'm seriously thinking of trying to track down a original copy of this, as well as this print on demand version. Highly recommended. But that's it for this video. That's my thoughts on this. I think you could probably tell I really enjoyed this from watching the waffle sessions. We had such fun with this. Next one I'm going to do will be War Rafts of Kron. You've probably already guessed my thoughts on that already. But yeah, let's see what I think. Till the next video, guys, stay safe, take care.